Wow. You see, we just shared our level of competence, and thanks to Kati and Reka, we have some recording going on. Thank you very much. So I said, I'm Árpád Bárnai from Hungary, from the Academy of Experience, and I would like to share some thoughts about psychological first aid and solution-focused approach, how they connect. This is a short, let's say, short introduction or exploring the topic. And I just like to ask you also to take care of yourself. So if you think like, oh, this is just too much, or I don't know, you like to take a break, please do so. And I really appreciate if you just open up your mic or asking or tell things in the chat. First, I'm gonna give you a brief introduction of what I understand by psychological first aid, and I really count on Reka also in creating breakout rooms if you can. Do you have all the permissions by Zoom?
It pretty much looks like I do, so let me know if you need anything.
Yes, great. So what I thought of like creating later breakout rooms for 3-4 persons, and you can share thoughts briefly. But first, let me share some thoughts and also a presentation I created. Maybe it makes it easier to communicate. And let's see. Just a quick mention of credits. What I shared here is not my thing. I didn't come up with on my own. This is coming from our organization and also from the recommendations regarding psychological first aid, coming from first aid associations like the National Outdoor Leadership School and also the European Union Agency for Asylum and many other places. And also we learn from trauma-informed approaches. Barry Bessa van der Kolk and Bruce Perry mentioned, and solution focus approach generally, and I'm especially grateful for Social Surfers International. And also I would like to mention that this presentation is based on the work of Marcel Rodriguez, and these were the credits. And I just want to start with this brief introduction of what we learned from emergency response, and that's related to first aid. Quite often there's cases where there's more help is needed than professional service available. So what we have learned that you can train non-professionals to do well enough in supporting in such cases, supporting others. And what we also learned that in most emergency response cases, what is most needed is practical assistance and done in a compassionate manner. And the good news is that, yeah, you can train people and they can do this. So there's great potential in peer and community support. So this is why first aid. And I just want to state that I think we are our first responders, most likely someone around another person who's experiencing distress is usually a non-professional. As in first aid, you're not a medical professional, but you provide first aid, some kind of care. And also in psychological first aid, you're not a mental health professional, most likely. Or if you have to provide care, it's not a therapeutic intervention, but it's a provide care, some kind of care. And I'm looking at you as a group who would let me know if I'm saying something that triggers a question, or you would like to stop me if I doesn't seem to make sense. So please feel free to interrupt anytime. Just like to catch up also with time, but not being too fast. So as a recap, I would say that this is an evidence-formed approach, a modular approach, what to do in the immediate aftermath of a stressful event, right when it has happened. And it's pretty much based on compassionate response. And the aim is to address the stress injury. So in bullet points, it's like our task as a first aid provider is to reduce the initial distress of the event and also mitigate or work with the impacts of stress to lessen the harm, and also have the individuals, like people experiencing the stress, to process the event, and if needed, link them to potential help and support. So this sounds all nice and well. It's from a bird's eye view, and before we focus on how psychological first aid is related to solution-focused approach, I would like to focus in a bit about stress injury that I mentioned, because I think it helps to understand what we are dealing with here. So I brought a hypothetical case of someone going for a hike and how these psychological first aid situations occur. So this is an incident timeline. And as I mentioned, we talk about stress injury for two reasons, because one is that now it's proven that we can get really hurt by stress. And also, I think it helps to counter the stigmatization related to mental health that's still kind of present in everyday conversations. So let's think about a person going for a hike, and there's a pre-incident phase. So if I'm on a hike, I bring my mindset. Depending on my level of stress, I respond differently, and also I might have different stories that have an impact on how stressful the event will be. Did I get injured, and how did I overcome these injuries? So I bring my story and mindset and level of stress into the situation, and also not just the experiences, but what they call demonstrated ability to suffer, meaning like how can I cope and how I'm dealing with such situations. Because if I've already experienced that I can overcome such situations, it's a very different experience. And then something happens. So I'm in the mountains, something happens to me, and there's a pre-rescue phase when I don't get help, where I have all kinds of emotions, most likely doubt, fear, guilt, pain, loss of agency, where I don't feel that I control things. And also my nervous system can be hyper aroused. I can be too activated, or I may be protecting myself by freezing or dissociating myself from the emotions I experience, and I can experience despair also. And then the help comes, which is great news. Usually it's technical people, I mean, like rescue teams come to help, and they are busy helping me. And there's a longer rescue to take me to the hospital. So this is about my physical health. But if I talk about psychological first aid, then there's the question of when does the incident end for me? Because it can be that I stay there for 2 hours, then the rescue team arrives and they take me down to extended help, I don't know, in 10, 12 hours. And if they don't address my psychological needs and the level of stress I'm in, I might feel very lonely. I may not know that I'm not in danger. So our job is that even in a physical first aid case, when it's severe incident happening, to end the incident and start to process as soon as we arrive. And what's a takeaway from our practice? That if I change the picture, and I think it's someone, a young person in urban settings, in an everyday situation, this picture doesn't really change. Quite often we are busy solving the issue and not really taking into consideration the level of stress the young person or the person we support experiences, and how we can address that, how we can lessen the stress injury. I quite often think about burn injuries when we burn our hand, for example, when cooking. The injury happens not only when we touch the hot object, but also after. If we still have the heat in our tissue, we're still getting injured. So quickly countering it and cooling it is an intervention. And I think it's similar with stress injury. If you can counter it early, and well, you lessen the impact. And if you look at the WHO recommendations, they have very broad recommendations, like you need to prepare, obviously, and know your role, and also who you work with. Look and assess who is in need of care. Listen well, and also link them and connect them to support if needed. So this is the WHO protocol. But the question is, when I look at such brief overviews, like, okay, but how to do this? And I think solution-focused approach is really, really great in connecting the dots and giving you concrete ideas how you can do this. What we are going to do now is going over some key elements of psychological first aid and link them to solution-focused approaches. As I've seen, the group we have here is very experienced. So not a spoiler, but we will go through this recommendation by NOS and the EUAA. So we will talk about how we can promote safety, how we can calm the person, how we can promote self-efficacy, and create connection and hope. And as you see, this, I really like that this is a circle, because it's not an order, but you take care of these aspects of psychological first aid all the time if they are needed. And what I really love in this, that these are not expert or specialist interventions, but these are part of our humanity. We are just using in psychological first aid more intentionally than usual. So I stop now with this quick recap of the whole picture, what I mean by psychological first aid, because I have a fear of maybe this was a bit too fast. So I'm looking at you now, like the group, and asking you if you have any question, feedback. Is the speed okay? How we are going forward? I try to look at you. Okay, great. Because we caught up with time also. I tried not to rush still. So I will ask Reka to create breakout rooms of, let's say, 4.
Yep.
And you don't need to open them, but I will tell a bit of safety and calming, and then what I invite you to do in the breakout rooms to think about how solution-focused approach can help in promoting safety and calming. So this will be the breakout room question for you, and I tell you a bit about what I mean by safety and calming. I think it helps to be a bit more concrete. So let's start with safety. If you think about a physical injury, and not only a physical injury, you can think about stress as something that can hurt people. So establishing this sense of safety is crucial. If I'm experiencing an incident or any high level of stress event, if this doesn't lessen the level of stress I'm experiencing, it can really have bad impact on the long run. So grounding me, bringing me to the present moment, and ending the event is crucial. And how you can do that is planting the flag kind of, so somehow symbolizing that what has happened is over. So now you're in safe like stage of the events. And also you can do practical things. Also, like you can think about not only words and interaction, but asking about needs of the person, even practical needs, like asking if they need to drink or eat something or they need some cover. It's part of psychological first aid because it gives a message that this is a place where someone cares for you. And also what's crucial is protect from additional stress. Sometimes when there's a high level stress event, we tend to rush in and are very eager to help. And this can create some kind of rushed or high speed interaction or worried tone of voice. And especially if we talk about how we speak and how we do things that can increase the level of stress or increase the level of safety maybe. So that matters a lot. And information can promote the sense of safety, especially if the young person or the person we support. I always use young person because I mostly work with young people. Are worried because of lack of information. And if we talk about calming, I think that's also they go hand in hand with safety. And this can decrease the arousal, the level of activation of the nervous system in a scene or in a situation. So first of all, if I'm very much radiating stress and anxiety, it's very, very hard to calm someone. If I say, calm down, it's going to be okay, that's not going to work. So calming yourself is the first step. And you can share also in the breakout room what works for you to calm yourself and how solution-focused approach can help you in that. And also how this represents or manifests in your actions and words. And here you see like hot drinks and pudding cups, physical needs, also calm people. And there's a very interesting thing here, emphasize the present, the practical and possible. I think this last sentence could be noted mostly anywhere around the circle, but it's not listed here. And also reduce the input. Sometimes when we are super eager to help, we maybe talk too much or have a lot of input. So reducing the input, radio traffic in case of practical help, but also just discussing a lot can increase the level of stress and not calm. So I stop the sharing now. So this was a short introduction to what I mean by safety, promoting safety and calming. And now, Rika, I ask you to open the breakout rooms.
How many minutes?
And I thought about 5 minutes. So it's going to be 5 minutes, and I invite you to come back and also if you can pick someone to share or whoever feels like sharing, it's good. I would like just to harvest when you come back to the breakout room. So how solution-focused approach can help you in promoting safety and calm. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. So I thought not to complicate things, just ask you openly, like, what do you feel like sharing? What was a main, I don't know, insight outcome of your conversations in groups? Just open your mic and share. I don't know who was in which group. I'm just curious, okay, how can solution focus help in creating a sense of safety and calm? Whoever feels like.
I don't know if it's like actually solution focused, because I just talked about a situation when a man fell between the platform and the train that came.
Mm-hmm.
He was okay, but in such a moment there's not a lot of time to think. And thinking about your question, it might be possible, I think, that through working with solution-focused approach, maybe this is also something that internalizes, and one starts maybe thinking faster in what's the next best thing I can do in such a moment, when you are not trained in like that was not a psychological thing, but for the man and for everybody on the platform it was afterwards, because it was a shock. Yeah, but
It
there
can
was
create
not so much time to
mental
think.
habits.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
We
I
actually
saw your hand.
struggled. Excuse me.
Yeah, there
We
was
actually struggled.
Mlungisi also coming after you, if I pronounce well. And you struggled with what? What question came up with?
Like a lot of classic solution-focused tools might not really work in this situation. Because like if I'm scared and completely frozen, I might not want to think about my best hopes out of the situation. Or something like that. So we were wondering what could be like tiny steps that one could maybe take that is available for that person at that moment.
Wow. Thanks for bringing this up. I meant approach and not a coaching session. So I think it's a very important distinction. And if I may add to this, I'm not sure if this was part of your question, but I want to add that I might be very stressed as a helper. And also there's this negativity bias. So we tend to look for worrying signs and negative things as human beings, like obviously for good reason. And having myself being trained in looking for resources, looking for what's working, helps calm myself down, besides breathing, besides other techniques. But knowing myself is one thing, but also having a way of channeling my focus on what works here, and also bringing the person's attention, like even practically, like where can you move your arm? You can move your arm. So bringing the attention to what's present and what's working can calm people. So it's positive, practical, and present information can be super important, and solution focus can be a good training in that. And since we had another hand, is it okay if we move on and then we see how much of an answer comes up, or maybe new questions? Mlungisi, am I pronouncing your name right? Help me
Yes,
out.
yeah, you're pronouncing it well. So with my colleague, we didn't go much. I think the time was limited. But what I want to respond to say, how does solution-focused approach help in these situations? So for me, I work in context where there's a lot of gender-based violence, especially particularly for girls and young women. So how does solution-focused approach then help within my work is the mindset for me. For example, to say nothing remains the same, change is inevitable. And then I'm looking at myself, I know that everyone has strengths and resources. And then I'm looking at things like the complements. So it's not necessarily the tools, but the mindset that I have. So when the person then comes to me with a challenge, basically, for example, I thank them for taking action. Thank you so much for coming. It has been difficult for you to come and report. It's difficult for you to come and look for this help. So I'm not necessarily using the tools, but I'm inherently using the mindset, thanking them for coming,
Wow.
assuring them that I will support them in the way that I can, ensure confidentiality, tell them how the process is going to be like. Just giving you a small example of how solution focused approach can help and how it's helping us. Yes, it's difficult, but the mindset of it and using the tools not in isolation, but as part and parcel of a broader mix is something that is helping within the context that I'm working in. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. And I think like you're touching into something that's appreciating the effort of people. And also what I mentioned at the beginning, like they say in the guidelines, like compassionate response So really thinking about what it is like for the client or the person you help. And also resource focus can have an impact on you, how you are present. And maybe you don't say it, but people hear it in the tone of your voice or the pace of your speech that you see them as a whole person, as a human being, and not just someone needing help, a busy object of help, but they are also seen. And I thought about, because breakout rooms take a while, just give you an overview of the next three aspects, and then we just keep on talking like this if it's okay for you. And I just share again. Let's see how it goes. Please let me know if I'm sharing the right things.
I think you are.
Great. Yeah. So just glossing over the second part of the circle, what's recommended is that, okay, if we're taking care of safety and calming, then what's really needed is for the person helped to experience self-efficacy, that they can do things, they control things. And in car accidents, the likelihood of stress injury is way higher if people get stuck in their car and they experience stress and they cannot get out. And if they can get out and they experience that they can do things, that lessens the likelihood of stress injury. So a sense of agency and inclusion also is what we strive for. And what we already touched on, and also by complementing the attendance of someone, as you mentioned, like bringing them onto the team, they are part of their own rescue or help, and to give this sense of we're all going to get out of this together. And what I think is very interesting, that this is psychological first aid recommendation that make sure that they are part of planning and treatment. And I think if you think about social focus, you might have some ideas maybe how they are related, and using their expertise if possible. Quite often people are so busy helping that they forget to ask. Even with physical injuries, we tend to move people who can move their limbs. And it's a very different feeling. Like, could you lift your arm? Wow, you can move. Nice. And this applies to not just the physical aspect. But if we talk about the other piece of the SPY connection, I think this is a crucial part of what we talk about today here, that injuries form in isolation. And creating the sense of connection is crucial. If I were to suggest to pick one, this is the most important part of what we speak about today. And there was the case of the London bombing, where kids were taken away from the city and some were in the shelters, bomb shelters with families. The ones taken away showed more signs of stress injury than the ones in the bomb city because they were with family. So one task is to really be with who you help, and the other is to talk to them, not just over. I think this is self-explanatory. You can build this on-scene relationship, and the most important part is connect to beings, friends, family members, even pets, who matter to them. Most likely, we are not the most important people in their lives. That's a bet I have. And also, you can talk about these relationships, so you can bring these people in their mental landscape. Let's put it that way. And there's the last piece I wanted to bring in, and I love that these parts are in psychological first aid guideline. It's just wonderful. Hope, how to work towards hope. So between the incident or the scene and the survival, there should be some line, some connection. And what's recommended is to reflect specific, accurate, positive facts and predictable, realistic steps. And also acknowledging what might be hard at the present moment. So really not forcing solution-focused approach, but really giving the sense that I understand, I hear you, that it's tough, and at the same time emphasizing strength and encouraging future talk is a task if we were to provide psychological first aid. And yeah, I did hear a quote from Heightened, like creating a tangible possibility in the sense of agency. So it's created, it's linked to also to self-efficacy. And we can do this through a detailed description. And I stop the sharing now. And I thought about not going to breakout room, but just opening the floor to react or respond like, okay, we just went through, closed over these self-efficacy, connection, and hope. And what's your experience or what's your guess and how solution-focused approach can help in this? And I mean broadly understanding solution-focused approach, not necessarily a coaching conversation. You're with someone who is experiencing stress.
This sort of reminds me, I attended a session about the non-knowing stance, and the presenter gave an amazing metaphor of how physics applies with us humans, and that sometimes when we react too strongly and too differently, it just pushes back. So I think in solution-focused approach, as at times of trauma or when things are really dark, we want to avoid being too positive, using words that might be overwhelming, things we're used to, maybe like best hopes or strength, and these things might be too much in the situation. We want to stay more neutral, which is closer to where they are. That's sort of how I saw it. It reminded me of that conversation we had. I wonder if you agree with that.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And what I hear from you is like walking together with the person you support. So, so it's more important that they experience hope in the situation they are in than you being overly enthusiastic or having some kind of fake rosy glasses, but really looking for what's hopeful and helping them to see what's hopeful. And I think that's the maybe the most like challenging part, not to provide false hope or promise something that you cannot promise. For example, questions like even in the first aid situation, if they ask, will my leg heal if it's broken? I cannot say it will. But there's a difference in saying, I don't know, or it won't heal, because this is also an information it won't heal. I cannot give that information. I don't know. It's more honest, but what you're aiming for is something that you can say. For example, we are doing our best, or the ambulance is on its way. I've seen cases where it was healed. So it's like you can look for very practical and concrete positive facts that are really hopeful. And I would really be curious about what you see as what could help the person you support see these. And also, I think it matters also that you look into directions that's hopeful for them.
Thank you.
Thank you for this. And also there was a question regarding the WHO, how it's related. Yeah, I think it's very much related because WHO says prepare, look, listen, and connect. And I think what we're talking about here now is how. What are you looking for? And also how you are talking or listening to a person. I hope this answer to the question you had. I'm asking also, like, what else do you think might be useful from solution-focused approach when you would like to support connection and hope and self-efficacy? If there's anything coming from your experience.
I'm not sure if I have something meaningful to share, but
Shima, what you just said, also, and connecting with what you shared, reminds me of a quote that that's from Ed Sneidman, and I hear Heather Fisk often quoting it. So there's a vast difference between intolerable and just barely tolerable after all, and to find that place, I think that's something that sparked this conversation, right? It's not about going big and also the gentleness in seeing, and I think this is what I liked in the way how you displayed this model, and I wasn't there from the very beginning, but I really liked this tap on the shoulder and find where you can build a good connection. And you need to calm first before you can enter a conversation before. But that's also, I mean, this hope part that starts with the part of being present. And so I think there is a layer of hope probably also before the hope part comes, in the way how we are just there and present in the interaction.
Thank you. That's why it's in a circle. That's why I like the circle. So it's not an order, but these are maybe aspects of being there with someone. And I would like to also add that there was connection mentioned, and quite often it's a situation where like the best thing that you could do is just ask the person, like, do you want to call someone? So just connect people. That's a really good move. And it can be that you cannot do that. But you can talk about people. So if I think about solution-focused conversations, I think interactional kind of conversations are very, very strong. I can recall Chris Iveson was doing a demo coaching with me. He asked very good questions about interactions where I could see an interaction with people who matter to me. So you can also do that, just encouraging people to talk about who matters to them, what they would like to tell them, or what they will do when they go back if things go well. So this is already creating a sense of connectedness. Okay.
Say something about hope, Arpi?
Hmm?
Say something about hope, best hopes.
Yeah, please.
Just obviously, it's a question I love. I think when we're meeting our clients, we've got to ask the questions we can ask. And if it doesn't sit with you, then it doesn't sit with you, and you can't make it fit if it doesn't fit. It fits with me. And I suppose the real clincher for me was some time ago, I was asked to deal with a crisis on a children's hospital ward. And the crisis was there was a dying child. A child was going to die that afternoon, and the mother was screaming. She was sitting by the bed screaming. And basically, a rather frazzled nurse said, "Can you deal with this woman? She's disrupting." They weren't very sympathetic to her. So I took her to the hospital. She agreed to see me. And what did I start with? I asked, "What are your best hopes?" It's how you ask it. You don't say, "Oh, what are your best hopes out of this?" It's the tone, how you ask it. But for me, I assume if somebody's seeing us, there's a good reason that they hope something useful is going to come of it. And I wouldn't want to diminish their sense of hope by reducing mine. But so tone, so I say, what are your best hopes out of this meeting? And she said, what you'd expect her mother to say. She said, I'd like to be the best mother I can be to my son in his last hours. And she knew screaming wasn't the way to do that. And so we had 10 minutes of her describing how she would be to be the best mother she could with her son. And save the screaming till later. And she did. So for me, I'll take that question anywhere. Um, and it's how you ask it, the tone that you ask it, the connection that you make with your client, and that very first instant. But if it doesn't fit with you, you didn't ought to ask it. You should ask something else, because otherwise it comes out false. But thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I would say, Árpád, that on tape, you've got the longest silence on one of my tapes when I'm waiting to answer a question. We're both so still and waiting for so long that several times people have told me that it's on the video has gone on pause.
Yeah. And wow, thank you very much. Really, thank you, Chris. And as I started this session, like psychological first aid is practical and compassionate response. And as Chris also shared this example, I think it matters how you approach people and you treat them with respect, or you believe in them. And what I wanted to close with is that Heysam also recommends asking not what's the matter, but what matters to you. And this was a great example what Chris shared. And also treating the client as an expert of their life can be very, very helpful. You know what we talked about. And as an approach, not only just treating this conversation as using tools, but how to be with people. And I really recommend also her work. I find the dialogical orientation quadrant very useful to listen for where we're on the map of the person we're supporting. If you think about hope, what's hopeful in their map? And if you talk about connection or other aspects or safety, where is it on their map? And where are the resources and what do you really wish in the future? Our time is up now, unfortunately. I would really love to talk to you even more. Yeah. And also, yeah, thank you very much. That's what's the matter with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that you were here and you shared, and wishing you a happy continuation of this event. Thank you very much.